If you've been looking at your phone and social media, it definitely looks like America done gone crazy, right? I'm not the only one thinking that. With all of the peril that's going on in this world, man, I thank y'all for coming to the channel and fucking with me. I really fuck with y'all that fuck with me. Now, in the comments, there's been two things that have been asked quite a bit. One, what's up with the RX-8?
Please say a 4-digit pairing code.
RX-8's fine. RX-8's been in every single video I've started in my garage. She's just been covered up. I've got something coming on with this. This car is about to probably embark on something extremely impressive. Probably. It all depends on a phone call Monday morning. And I'm filming this at Saturday. So in 2 days, I'll know. I'll probably update y'all. You may have been paying attention to the community tabs and seen me post something about this, if it went right. Now, the sun has been beating on it. I haven't driven this car for the entire season. It is absolutely sun tarnished. Whatever. My bad, RX-8. Pro Style Wraps is going to handle the color. I'm over the red. I love the red though, but I'm over it. That's been one comment. The other has been asking about motorcycles. How to spot imperfections in used bikes. What would be the best way to start looking at used bikes. How to spot a good one. The very first things that you're going to look at are apparent things. Things that just jump out at you. Like this bike has a dent on the tank. Not a big deal to me. Might be a big deal to some that are going to be riding a bike around, wanting to be flawless in appearance. Bike doesn't have a dent on the tank, but it was and is missing a few pieces right here. If I was buying the bike and I saw this, that would tell me that this tank has been off a few times. If you know a little bit about these R1s, you know you can reach the spark plugs and coil packs on the front side. So there's really no reason to have this tank off. So that would be your first alert. But those are things that somebody notices that's used to motorcycles, that knows what they're looking at with motorcycles. The second thing, obviously, is scratches. Are there any scratches on the fairings? Do the bar ends and the levers have scratches on them? We noticed that this, I told y'all in the video when we picked this up, the hand control, the levers, and the grips had rash on them, which I knew the bike went down on its right side. Another thing that you'll see that's common with a bike going down on that side, if you look down here, if you look here at the lower portion of the triple tree, there's two tabs that stick up. That when you turn the handlebars, the tab will hit a piece of the frame as a stopper. When I turn this way, that stop is from the lower portion of the tab. Now watch how far this turns on this side. It hits the fairing stay because that lower portion, that lower tab is broken. That proves to you even more that the bike went down on the right side and it went hard. The handlebars hit hard, which broke that tab. We saw that on that Gixxer 1000 that we went to look at from Mike. Those aren't big deals, but they might be. You never know. You have to inspect further to find that out. That would be a telltale sign when you're looking at the bike. You don't even have to start the bike up yet. You can see that. I'm looking at it right here. So that's one way to know that it went down. You look at clip-ons. You see how the clip-ons are. If the clip-ons have any bit of bend in them, you're going to see it. If you look straight down on the triple tree, you'll be able to see the bars should be very even. The reason that this R1 has clip-ons on it is because I saw a big clip-on. Now, it's probably really hard to see. This bar end is not straight. The clip-on goes downward. You'll know the bike went down on that side and the previous owner didn't have a keen eye for that. Or they didn't want to buy clip-ons because clip-ons are relatively expensive, and sometimes people think, hey, I'm just gonna overlook that. I'll show you another one. You guys know why this got clip-ons too, right? Because we have another damaged clip-on. Now, if you're looking at it, maybe you could see it. See that separation right there? That shouldn't be there. So because these aren't like one solid forged piece, these are two pieces that slide on to the base and then it has adhesive holding it on. These are even more dangerous to ride if you have damage on the clip-ons. So imagine I'm riding this and I'm jamming, and let's say I do a wheelie or a turn or anything that's going to apply force on this. Who knows how much force can be applied on it? I don't want to test it out. If this shit comes apart while I'm riding, your boy going on a fantastic voyage, and that's no cap. After that, start a bike up. When you start a bike up, let it warm up. No matter how the owner is, he can do whatever he wants with the bike. But if you're serious about buying a bike, like when I went and bought the Cowie. When I went to buy the Cowie, Cuz started it up and just started revving it to the moon. Homeboy, if I'm here to buy a bike, that means that you don't have the proper understanding about how everything works on a bike. Because if the second you start it up, literally he started it and got on it. Now, he may have been trying to hide something. That just may be his standard everyday operation with that motorcycle. But when I came to see the bike, the ply was showing through the tires. The tires were bald. It was just in the worst condition that I've ever seen a motorcycle in that ran fine. Him doing that to me means that that bike has always been like that. It's always lived like that, and it might not have the best maintenance life. Let the bikes idle, let them build their oil pressure, then you can rev, no problem. A lot of these smaller displacement bikes, it doesn't take that long to let them build oil pressure, but just start them up and let them build. When you look at the dash will say low. There's a temp gauge on the dash that shows a temperature. If it doesn't show a temperature, bike's not warm yet. That's just standard rule of thumb. I really like for the bikes to show a temp before I do anything gnarly on them, revving, ride off, anything. You let the bikes get up to temp, let the bikes run. But while you're doing that, you're letting the bike warm all the way up. Don't let them cut it off. Let it warm all the way up. When bikes get around 200 and 215 degrees, the fan should cut on. When you hear that fan cut on, go look at the dash. See if that fan drops it down. How far does it drop it down? How quickly does it come back on? Because we need to know those things. You don't get a lot of airflow on the front of the radiator when you're riding around in the city, sitting around on the street. It's only the freeway when you get a nice good flow of air pressure on the front and it cools the bike down. So you need that fan to be active. You need it to be very responsive, cutting off, cutting on, cutting off, cutting on. Those are the things that you need to know. When the bike started up, did it stutter? Did it stumble? Does it sound like a WRX when you first fire it up? Some coil packs don't start sparking until they get warm. You need to hear that. You don't always need to go on a ride, right? You can go ride the bike all you want. You know what I'm saying? There's only a couple things that you're going to find out in operation that the bike's going to tell you once you go ride it. Y'all saw that shit, right? Back slapped a mouth. I don't know where it went. But that whole better get up out of here. I've been very consistent in my message with not buying tiny displacement motorcycles. Anything under 600s, kind of not needed. I found a podcast that me and my boy was starting 5 years ago on the podcast sounded like this.
You walk into the dealership and say, I want a motorcycle. And the salesman says, oh, how long have you been riding? What's the last bike that you rode? Tell them, shut the fuck up. Get what you want. You're going to slam anyway. When you're interested in something, don't be scared and think like, oh man, this is a cool beginner bike. No, it's not a cool beginner bike because you're going to outride that bike in like 6 weeks.
Well, we also is depending on, I mean, you just got to, it's depending on who it is, because there's some motherfuckers that don't need to be on no kind of, they barely need to be on a bike, period, let alone a 600 or a thou wow.
Well, tell them niggas to go buy Vespas.
Yeah, they need to go buy something else or something. I don't know. But yeah, some people just can't, they just, you know, you get them on them big bikes and they just don't know what the fuck to do, and the motherfuckers go riding off without their ass.
And I still stand by that to this day. I was making the message more harsh so that it sounded funny. It was, at that time, that's how podcasts work. But I still stand by that. The money that you spend on a newer 300, 400, that could be spent on gyms like this. That could be spent on gyms like this. Both of these bikes you can get for under $2,000. I feel like if you like a bike and you like the way it looks, you buy that bike because you're going to pay more attention to keeping it clean. You're going to pay more attention to keeping yourself safe because you want to keep the bike in one piece. There's certain individuals that want to jump on a bike and they want to ride hard as fuck and be a badass to show off. They won't live long. That's what we really call squids. That's the real definition of a squid. So quickly I die. Squid. I'm a squid because I like to ride with no gear, but I'm not a newbie rider. By all means, I can handle myself in any riding situation. What's going to keep me alive is my mentality. I know when to keep it safe. I know when to keep it stupid. But there's certain guys that don't know. Those people are the type that need 300s. But you, who I hope is following this channel, you are who I want to take into consideration that any bike, whether you like Cowies, Hondas, Suzukis, or Yamahas, or MV Agusas, or Ducatis, It doesn't matter what the bike is. If you like it, buy it. If you like the bike, buy the bike, because that is what keeps you interested in the bike. I absolutely love this bike. You guys have found out why I love this bike so much. I wrecked this bike a million times, and then I fixed it a million times. My crashes, even though I crashed a lot, always kept the bike safe. You can die on a 300. You could die on a 600. You could die on a 1000. You could die on a fucking mini bike. What's safe for you to ride is anything that you like, that you're going to pay attention to and keep yourself safe on. So a used bike buyer, it's not as complicated as you think. Start it up, does it smoke? Give it a couple revs once it's warm. Does it smoke? You know, you just see how quickly they start up. These are dead cold. How quickly does this bike start up? Let the fuel tank prime. Once it's primed, that's how quickly a bike should start up. And this is a 1000. 1000s usually crank over a little bit slower than like a 600. 600s crank hella fast. Those are the things you want to pay attention to. Then when you ride it, everything else is just relative. How the bike feels. If the handlebars are nice and sluggish, that means you might want to check your tire pressures. Tire pressures might be low. When you air it up, it might get lighter and quicker. Mileage is relative. If the motor fires up and it sounds good, that's whatever. If you rev it, sounds good, that's whatever. These are so easy to replace, speaking as a dash. If you break them, you buy another one, you replace them. So there ain't no telling if these bikes have original miles on them. You just need to know how it operates. Does the bike operate like it can function for a while? Does the bike sound like it'll function for a while? Does the bike maneuver and ride like it can function for a while? If all of those things are yes, that's your bike.
1. Does it leak? Are you finding leaky oil trails on the engine case covers? 2. Damages, clip-ons, levers, bar ends, frames, fairings, mirrors. All of those things indicate how far the damages went, and you need to check into that. When you start it up, did it fire up with a sputter? Did it fire up quickly? Is it idling pretty good? Does it have a choppy or low idle? Once it warmed up, then you rev it. Did you hear any clickety-clackety? Did you hear anything strange that would sound like any interference? Anything other than the cam chain, timing chain clicking? That's standard on certain bikes. Did the bike warm up? Did the fan cut on? When the fan cut on, did it cool the bike down? If it cooled the bike down, how long did it stay cooled? How quickly did the fan cut back on? Those are operating situations. Those are things that you want to know. If you test rode it, did the handlebars feel sluggish? Any clicks or clacks from the steering stem on the triple tree when you got on the brakes? That would mean that the steering stem is moving a little bit in the frame, which could mean one of two things. Either the top nut isn't tight enough, or the bearings in the stem, top or bottom, are worn out and they're allowing a little bit of play when you hit the brakes. Do you really like the bike? Do you really want it? Is it something that you could live with? Is it something that you could look at and grin? Those are very important keys as to how long you're going to be into the bike. Those are keys into how much effort you're going to put into the bike when it's time for something to be done. It's about how much dedication you're going to give the bike when things go wrong, if you fuck it up, if you crash it. All of those things are key factors in purchasing a motorcycle. You need to be real with yourself. Does this really make sense to you? After that, comfort and how long you can stay on it is very key, because you need to be able to put some time in to get comfortable with the bike, to ride it as much as you want, to be one with the bike, to be very stable on the bike. Those are all the things that are very, very important for you to have a great relationship with this motorcycle. All 4 of these bikes you could purchase for under the cost of rolling out a showroom with a 300 or 400cc motorcycle. All of these bikes, 600s, 1000s, all of them are a lower purchase price. So that's kind of what I have to say as far as like buying used bikes, purchasing old bikes, secondhand bikes. They're going to require some effort, but they're going to give you the greatest experience at the lowest dollar value, because 9 times out of 10, half of the things that could have gone wrong have already gone wrong and have been replaced from the previous owner. And it's all about you refining, fine-tuning it to you for whatever your riding talent is, whether it's early in the skill level or whether it's
just about how you like to ride it. So I hope this video does kind of answer some of the questions that I've been seeing in the comments. I hope it helps you out into making a decision to purchase your first bike. You don't need to have a 300cc bike. You don't need to listen to any recommendations that I've given or anybody else has given. But if it's in you and you really do want to ride and you want to get something that is very easy to ride, very fun to ride, and it doesn't cost $1 million to operate, look at these older bikes. Give them a chance. Give them a good home. You never know what kind of a companion you'll get out of these old bikes. Yeah, the new ones are cute and cuddly, but these old salty dogs deserve a chance too. And I hope that you consider giving one of these older bikes a chance. Even these, they're now over 15-year-old bikes too. Sheesh. But a 20-year-old bike, a 28-year-old bike, give them a chance. You never know what kind of joy you'll have in putting these bikes on the road for another 4 to 5 years. Because think about it. If this is your first bike, you're going to enjoy it, but you're going to fuck it up. Get it out the way with something that can take it. Get it out the way with something that's seen years of riding and years of abuse. Let these be an option for you. So with that experience that I've given y'all on this little vlog, I'm gone. I'm going inside where it's safe and people ain't looting and getting shot in the face with rubber bullets and shit, and dealing with all this other crazy shit going on in the world.